parti du coup sur Star Trek Résurgence. Donc j'avais un peu arrêté en plein milieu de ça, je crois.
Mr. Diaz, I understand you have already discussed the warp drive failure with Ambassador Spock?
I have.
It is imperative that the Ambassador's shuttle be flight ready.
The warp.
I need you both to ascertain the root cause of the system failures he encountered.
The
I'm
warp.
surprised, Commander.
J'aimerais trop parler avec Monsieur. Enfin,
I
avec Monsieur
respect the
Musk.
Ambassador and his many
Elon Musk.
accomplishments, but I do not derive any satisfaction
À
from
propos du
interacting
moteur
with his
de
shuttle
sa-
as if it were somehow transubstantiated
S'il
through its
pourrait faire un
association with
moteur à distorsion, parce qu'il en a été
especially
parlé.
when I have the entirety of this starship to concern myself with. I am not the chief engineer of this shuttlecraft.
The ambassador asked me to take a look, and I'm ready to crack this thing open.
Good. You could learn from Mr. Diaz's focus.
I'll take notes.
Then I will leave you to it. Make note of any abnormalities in your report. Carry on.
Bon, je suis pas en train de
One nice
fumer.
thing about Vulcans. Chovak is the only person who didn't look at this.
Je vais un peu, parce que j'avais laissé mes vitrées entrouvertes juste pour. Tout à l'heure, j'ai fini ma clope à l'intérieur parce que je regardais un truc sur l'ordi. D'ailleurs,
You treat me like I was something to pity. Doc says I should get used to it. Doesn't mean I want to be reminded of it every minute of the day.
Hey, you won't get pity from me. I think it makes you look tough. As tough as you really are, that is.
And that makes you sound pretty smart. I might need you to save me from myself next time, though. Come on. Let's get to the bottom of this.
le dernier coup, je lui ai dit ah désolé, je t'aurais pas dû aller en premier et elle a pas aimé.
Ready to go?
All
Attends là, fais voir.
set. Let's run the diagnostic.
Alors, trop bien, on dirait vraiment qu'on est dans Star Trek. Moi je suis vraiment un Trekkie les gars, je vous le dis.
You do?
She sent me a priority 1 dispatch right after your
J'ai pas
conversation.
besoin de lire, alors je regarde,
I'm happy
je fais un
for
truc
you.
sur Discord, mais
Both of you.
j'écoute.
Thanks.
But I'm only going to tell you this once. Don't screw this up. Because I would be very unhappy if you tried this out and then, I don't know, 6 weeks or 6 days later, I have to start splitting holidays between the two of you. All because things went south and you're not on speaking terms. That just isn't gonna work for me.
Are you upset?
Not on your life, Diaz. But you need to be careful. I like my friends and I like our group.
En fait, j'aurais préféré être avec elle.
Is that thing done yet?
Yeah, it's wrapping up. Let's see. The relays
Mais
along the
pour la
primary EPS
prochaine
are blown.
partie.
The backup relays are all intact.
An EPS overload from the warp drive could cause that. But how did the shuttle end up dead in the water?
Huh. Well, maybe the ship's data recorder can tell us something.
Attendez 2 secondes. Ok. Alors.
Here,
They were only about 8 minutes from their plotted warp point. No faults, just those warnings. What are they?
Subspace variance out of tolerance. What does that mean?
It means the main navigation array lost sight of space somehow.
Will the array going offline cause that?
Yes, but it should have also thrown a fault code.
Elle dit oui, mais ça aurait dû mettre un code de faute.
The warp field became inverted suddenly.
Le champ de
I've seen
distorsion
this
s'est
happen when
inversé.
the center warp coil cracks.
A cracked warp coil throws a fault code.
Still, we should take a look.
Warp
There
cascade
was a complete
failure.
warp cascade failure.
Wow. They're lucky the shuttle didn't turn inside out.
Putain, mais j'allais dire
Makes
pourquoi
me
elle a
think
pas
the computer
explosé
panicked on the
le
warp field
truc.
equation.
Any one
Connaissance
of
Star
these
Trek
failures
et
should have thrown a
un
fault.
peu le fonctionnement de ce
If it was
bordel.
caused by a system failure.
None of this caused the relays to blow. Roll forward to when that happened.
And
Yes,
if it
ma'am.
was caused by the storm.
So here, they take a moment to get their bearings and they attempt to re-engage the warp drive.
There. That's the relays blowing.
And look, there's another warp system alert.
They're all the same. Subspace variance out of tolerance, or warp inversions. Finally, there's a complete warp cascade failure.
Then it's one of two things. Either a warp coil is cracked or the navigation array is offline.
That makes sense.
Divide and conquer. You want to check the warp coils or the navigation array? I'll check the other. Let's not overcomplicate this. One of these systems is likely broken.
I'll check the nacelles for a cracked coil.
Votre tricorder permet d'enregistrer et analyser. Le regardeur révélera invisible. Carré pour vous équiper ou rangonner le tricorder. R2 pour scanner les objets qui brillent. Quoi? C'est quoi cette connerie? Non. Pourquoi ça m'a ramené au menu? Oh là 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 là.
Mr. Diaz, I understand you have already discussed the warp drive failure with Ambassador Spock.
I have.
It is imperative that the Ambassador's shuttle be flight ready. I need you both to ascertain the root cause of the system failures he encountered.
I'm surprised, Commander. I thought you would have wanted to work on Ambassador Spock's shuttle yourself.
I respect the Ambassador and his many accomplishments, but I do not derive any satisfaction from interacting with his shuttle as if it were somehow transubstantiated through its association with him. Especially when I have the entirety of this starship to concern myself with.
The Ambassador asked me to take a look, and I'm ready to crack this thing open.
Good. You could learn from Mr. Diaz's focus.
I'll take notes.
Then I will leave you to it. Make note of any abnormalities in your report. Carry on.
One nice thing about Vulcans. Chovak is the only person who didn't look at this and treat me like I was something to pity. Doc says I should get used to it.
Hey, you won't get pity from me. I think it makes you look tough. As tough as you really are, that is.
And that makes you sound pretty smart. I might need you to save me from myself next time, though. Come on. Let's get to the bottom of this.
Ready to go?
All
Allez.
set. Let's run the diagnostic.
Putain, faut tout refaire quoi.
So... I know about your talk with Miranda.
You do?
She sent me a priority 1 dispatch right after your conversation. I'm happy for you. Both of you.
Thanks.
But I'm only going to tell you this once. Don't screw this up. Because I would be very unhappy if you tried this out and then, I don't know, 6 weeks or 6 days later, I have to start splitting holidays between the two of you. All because things went south and you're not on speaking terms.
That won't happen.
That's not gonna happen, okay? And why are you even going there? We haven't even gone on a date yet.
I just want you to know where I stand. I like my friends and I like our group. I don't want to lose that. Is that thing done yet?
Yeah, it's wrapping up. Let's see. The relays along the primary EPS are blown. The backup relays are all intact.
An
Allez, faut
EPS
tout
overload
refaire.
from the warp
Putain,
drive
mais
could
je
cause
vois pas
that.
ce
But how
m'envoyer
did
au
the
menu
shuttle end up dead
principal.
in the water?
Well, maybe the ship's data recorder can tell us something. Here.
They were only about 8 minutes from their plotted warp point. No faults, just those warnings. What are they?
Allez, on refait. Clic, clic, clic.
Subspace variance out of tolerance. What does that mean?
It means the main navigation array lost sight of space somehow.
Will the array going offline cause that?
Yes, but it should have also thrown a fault code.
The warp field became inverted suddenly.
I've seen this happen when the center warp coil cracks.
A cracked warp coil throws a
J'aurais
fault
pas
code.
dû mettre,
Still,
enfin,
we should take a
draguer
look.
l'autre. J'aurais dû draguer elle, la trill, c'est mieux.
There was a complete warp cascade failure.
Wow. They're lucky the shuttle
C'est
didn't
mon
turn
espèce,
inside out.
un peu, c'est
Makes me
une de
think
mes
the
espèces
computer
préférées.
panicked on the warp field equation.
Ils peuvent vivre je sais pas combien de vies
Any one of
d'affilée.
these failures should have thrown a fault.
If it was caused by a system failure.
None of this caused the relays to blow. Roll forward to when that happened.
Enfin,
Yes, man.
ils ont le symbiote dans le ventre là. Et dès que eux
So
ils meurent,
here, they take
le
a moment to
symbiote
get
est
their
transféré
bearings
à un
and they
autre
attempt to
trill.
re-engage the warp drive.
Et toute la
There.
vie
That's the
du
relays,
premier
Ron.
est transférée dans la tête du deuxième grâce au truc.
And look,
Et
there's
du
another warp
troisième
system
et du
alert.
quatrième. Et du coup le cinquième il a 4 vies quoi,
They're all the
de
same.
mémoire.
Subspace variance out of tolerance or
Du
warp
coup à 20 ans
inversions.
il s'est déjà
Finally, there's a complete
300
warp
ans.
cascade
Enfin,
failure.
il
Then
a à
it's
peu
one
près
of
200
two
ans et trill
things.
donc.
Either a warp coil is cracked or the navigation array is offline.
Le quatrième, il
That
a
makes
800,
sense.
800 ans
Divide
de
and conquer.
connaissances.
You want to check the warp
À 20
coils or
ans,
the navigation
600
array?
ans.
I'll check the other. Let's not overcomplicate this. One
Allez
of
hop,
these systems is
Ouais, c'est
likely
là que c'est
broken.
reparti tout à l'heure.
I'll check the nacelles for a cracked coil.
Attends. C'est de l'Excelsior qu'on parle là. Pourquoi il n'y a rien de ce côté? L1 et R1 pour changer de mode de skill.
I checked every coil on the port and cell for imbalances. If any coil in either engine were cracked, I would have detected it. So, it must be the navigation array.
Except it's not. Checked and double-checked.
Well, the readings don't lie.
Here comes the security detail for the way team.
Hey.
I'm not here.
We're escorting the negotiating team to the surface as soon as they come down from the bridge. I don't want to interrupt some important work. I was just hoping to see you before I go. The captain and the others will be here any minute now. Should be an interesting ride down to the surface.
Come on, I'm never too busy to make time for you.
That's not true.
No. But I am glad you came by.
No, that's more accurate.
I gotta be precise with you, huh?
Hey, Maris. Aren't these those button pushers you're always hanging out with?
And you're the phaser jockeys we always beat in Parisi squares, right?
Au carré
All aboard
Parisis.
for Hotari.
That another one of the captain's railroad things?
Gotta be.
On en a toujours entendu parler, mais on l'a jamais vu ce jeu.
Steam engines were the warp drives of their day part. Catch y'all later.
On sait même pas c'est quoi les règles.
You don't want to miss your train.
C'est un genre de... Je sais pas, moi je le vois comme un genre
I do have to go.
de machin japonais là, le château où tu fais que te péter la gueule et tout, genre.
Not gonna lie, I'd rather not leave right now. More important things on my mind.
On essaiera avec l'autre île dans la deuxième partie. Putain, ça fait chier qu'il n'y ait pas une version PS5. Le truc qui vient de sortir et il en fait qu'en PS4.
Save some of that for when I get back.
You got a deal.
Maintenant que l'autre elle m'a dit ouais, je suis obligé de rester avec cette conne là.
Etzelar Diaz. If you could float back down to reality, we still have a ways to go.
Allez, qu'est-ce qu'il est conne.
So, the warp coils in the navigation array are fine, but the nav computer doesn't seem to think so.
I'm out of ideas short of field stripping the shuttle from bow to stern.
You wanna take this out of the shuttle and throw it on the bench?
Oh, real hands-on maintenance. I like it. Okay, the nav computer is patched into the ship.
The ship's computer can double-check our work. If the shuttle's nav computer is putting out false data, we'll know it.
Let's run through the shuttle's logs again.
Running now. Same. Warp field inversion and a cascade failure. However, the Resolute computer doesn't show the same subspace variance.
We're in the same conditions that the shuttle was in when it failed. Why wouldn't the ship's computer get a matching result?
What if the subspace variance was a momentary occurrence?
That's a possibility, and it would explain why the simulation under our current sensor readings failed to reproduce the issue.
But a subspace anomaly strong enough to cause a warp field collapse would leave graviton ripples for days.
C'est ce que je disais,
Let's run with the momentary subspace variance.
c'est la
for now.
tempête spatiale.
Roll forward to the shuttle's attempt to re-engage the warp drive.
Qui
We need the
fout le
conditions
bordel.
of space around the shuttle at the moment of warp failure.
Resuming simulation.
Error in warp field calculation. Cochrane formula variables are out of range.
Formule de Cochrane.
Take the shuttle sensor data from that moment.
Computer, why did the warp field calculation fail?
Warp field pressure returned non-orthogonal. Results are undefined.
That doesn't help.
Wait, what if we use a different ship?
Put the Resolute into the simulation instead of the shuttle.
Yeah, it should warp just fine. Unless... Computer, run the simulation with the Resolute.
Resolute simulated.
Computer, give me manual control on the warp power.
Static field intensity, warp 1.1. 1.2. 1.3. Warp pressure is destabilized. Error in warp field calculation. The warp drive has experienced a system-wide cascade failure. Warp field collapsed.
Mais Cochrane, c'est pas lui qui a rencontré les Vulcains en tout premier.
The same moment when the shuttle failed to warp, so did the ship.
Il me semble.
Whatever happened to the shuttle just happened to us. The Resolute will not sustain warp.
We can't leave Hotari space.
Maintenant, je vais jouer avec Jara. Bah après, on pourra retourner sur Resident Evil 4. J'ai plus rejoué Fada depuis. On fait ce chapitre.
Ambassador Spock, Captain Solano, welcome to Hotari. We are honored you have come. My name is Tylos Altaris, Minister of Diplomatic Affairs.
The honor is ours, and this is Commander Jara Rydick, First Officer aboard the USS Resolute. You'll find she has a keen mind, and unique insight into the dynamics between the Hotari and the Illydians.
We are honored to be here, as representatives of the Federation.
I'm so glad.
These must be the representatives of the mighty Federation. The reigning authority in the galaxy. Or so we've been led to believe. Whether that's true or not remains to be seen. But, either way, we're grateful you've made the time to come to our little corner of the universe.
And you are?
This is Galvin, and this is Citron, the heroes of the revolt in the mines.
Il ressemble un peu sur le haut du front à des... Enfin, surtout le premier là. Il me faisait penser à Guldukat, mais à mon avis c'est avec son chapeau. Parce que Guldukat, le Cardassien, je sais pas, ils ont les cheveux bien tirés en arrière, les Cardassiens. Genre plaqué, mon pote.
I don't know what we're walking into here. But that guy was something.
He certainly seems full of himself. No missing that. You could probably see it from orbit.
What a piece of work.
Remember, we are here at their invitation. We must remain deferential whenever possible.
Of course, but even that has its limits.
Et ces deux, ils nous ont demandé de l'aide, ils ont le moyen de voyager dans l'espace, ils ont la distorsion, parce que la directive première de Starfleet, c'est de ne pas interférer avec un monde qui n'est pas au même niveau de technologie qu'eux, enfin qui n'a pas encore la distorsion.
Ambassador Spock, welcome to Hotari Prime.
The honor is mine, Your Majesty.
That the Federation would send one of their most respected representatives is not only an honor to the Hotari people and their queen, but a recognition of our stature and importance.
Let's get on with it, shall we? With all due respect to the Federation and their ambassador, they have no authority here. We are not members of their alliance. We are not subject to their rule, nor yours. We demand the immediate return of all mining operations to Illydian control, as it has been for centuries and will be for centuries more. That has always been our understanding.
That understanding has changed.
Then you invite war.
And if you cannot remain silent, you will be silenced. But his point is well taken. What is the Federation's interest in this matter? Perhaps you would have us trade one oppressor for another?
The Federation remains neutral. Our only interest is the peaceful resolution of this conflict. We are here at your request, Your Majesty.
For now.
I get the sense she's cut from the same cloth as Galvin. I thought they wanted us here.
Was there something you wanted to say, Captain?
Oh, no. My apologies.
And what about the Kobliard?
She's not part
She can speak for herself, can't she? Then let her. Now then, what is your name?
Commander Jara Rydek, Your Majesty.
Being a Kobliard, you would know better than anyone. Your people suffered brutal treatment at the hands of the Cardassians. Their injustice towards the Kobliard is as unimaginable as it is unforgivable.
Ils l'ont pas fait que
Not unlike
Bajoran alors.
By the Alidians.
As much as they'd have you believe they
En fait, c'est des nazis de l'espace, c'est con. Ils ont fait exactement comme les nazis pendant 50 ans avec les Bajorans, en les faisant travailler dans des mines et des dirigés à météo.
You finally had the chance to right that wrong, to get out from under their control. Would you take it? Or would you negotiate a peace?
If the opportunity presented itself, and I wish that it had, more than you can know, if the opportunity presented itself, for the sake of the Kobliad, we suffered enough.
Of course you would. It would be foolish to do otherwise. The Federation is the most powerful, most advanced alliance in the galaxy. It's widely known we have an abundance of dilithium in our mines. And it's in your interest to secure a steady supply.
Your Majesty, if I may.
Ambassador Spock would have us believe you're here as a neutral party in the interest of peace. So why are you really here? I want the truth, not your Federation rhetoric.
It's possible the Federation has an interest in both peace and securing a steady source of dilithium. One does not preclude or prevent the other. But that's just my personal opinion.
Given the Federation has done business with the Alidians for decades, I would agree. It's entirely possible, if not highly likely.
What they haven't said, but cannot deny, is a simple truth. The dilithium trade would not and will no longer exist without Alidian involvement. We created it for the benefit of everyone.
Non, non, vous avez juste pris des esclaves et volé le dilithium.
We've made their lives infinitely better than before dilithium was discovered. All of that goes away if the Federation turns a blind eye to their treachery.
That is enough of your lies! The Hotari are quite capable of running the mines. We've done so for centuries. So tell me, who deserves control of the dilithium trade and the mines on Tau? Who should the Federation recognize? The Hotari or the Alidians? It can only be one or the other, not both.
If I have to choose only one, Then it would have to be the Hotari.
Well said. How could the just and wise Federation make any other choice?
This is an outrage. The Federation has lost all credibility.
The mines are ours. Lydia will not be deterred. We will take back our mines by any means necessary.
Then you will see more blood spilled.
I am more than willing to address your concerns, Your Majesty. Yours as well, Representative. But I suggest we could have a more productive conversation with a smaller group. Perhaps only the most essential representatives.
I suppose there is some sense to that. I hope we meet again, Jara Ryder.
Spock and I will cover everything on the diplomatic front. You make nice with the locals and see if you can get some answers. We need to find out why the Hotari are so willing to risk war. What happened in those mines?
Commander, I'm glad you've chosen to side with the Hotari. I knew the Federation would see through the Illidians' baseless claims and protect the interests of my people.
The Hotari have suffered enough at the hands of the Illidians.
I couldn't agree more.
I assume you were there the day the mines were seized from the Illidians.
Not seized. Reclaimed. And restored to their rightful owners. Yes, I was there. We had to be decisive. Before the Illidians could even realize their worst nightmares upon them.
Did you have help from someone else?
Hotari stands alone against the Illidian forces. We don't need help from anyone. They respect one thing above all else, and that is force. The greater the force, the more certain the outcome. Any talk of making peace is just that, and worth little without the strength to secure it. Which makes me wonder about your ship, the Resolute. Undoubtedly the Federation's finest warship. Ready to contend with anything the Illidians might have in store. Or is that not true? Maybe I've misjudged it.
It wasn't designed as a warship. More for scientific research and exploration.
But the Federation must have ships designed for war.
Technically, they're Starfleet ships representing the Federation. But yes.
I see.
Sidron.
A pleasure meeting you, Commander. I'm sure we'll cross paths again.
Such rough terrain. No wonder the Hotari are so tough.
Putain, moucheron de merde. Je croyais qu'il allait répondre l'autre, mais rien à voir.
Commander Rydek, I'm encouraged to see the Federation supporting my people. I'm afraid of what might happen without your help.
I'm glad to hear it. I just hope you're not the only one who feels that way.
I apologize for that. These are unusual times, to say the least. Much is changing. I saw you speaking with Sidron, our national hero. I'm curious, what did he say?
He seems to be of the opinion that negotiating for peace is a waste of time.
Because force is the only blunt instrument he understands. He's a miner, not a diplomat. For the first time in our history, the Hotari have the upper hand. We see ourselves as strong instead of downtrodden. New voices have risen up. Old voices shouted down. Galvin and Sidron have become national heroes. Now, they have the Queen's ear. Better or worse, depending on your perspective.
I assume they've taken your place.
I was one of the Queen's most trusted advisors. And I hope to prove myself worthy of being so again. Which is why you're here. My fear has been that the Illidians will launch an attack and crush us. You've seen their starship, no doubt. They could have retaken the mines whenever they wanted to. But it never happened. And as strange as this may sound, I'd almost say they're afraid. I just don't know what they're afraid of. It's still the same bluster and bravado you would expect from them.
Because of what happened in the mines. Is it Galvin they're afraid of?
It's entirely possible. But I don't know for sure. Whatever Galvin is doing in those mines is turning everything upside down. But no one knows exactly what's happening. Since the day of the revolt, Galvin has seized control of the mines and restricted all access. No one's allowed without his personal authorization. And they've taken over a section of the palace with just as much secrecy and security. I'm told it could be something they brought back from the mines. I've made inquiries, but everyone pretends it doesn't exist. I strongly suspect they're hiding something.
What do you think it is?
I've heard rumors it's some sort of ancient artifact, but I haven't seen it myself.
How can we know?
I'd better see what's happening.
Do you think you can find out what they're hiding? I need to see proof of something before I can make my case to the Federation.
I can try, but even if I found it, I might not know what to make of it.
Take this. You can use it to capture whatever you find, and then send it to me.
Thank you. I will let you know what I find. And I look forward to our meeting again.
Sorry, I couldn't help but notice you were speaking with the Hotari this whole time. I figured in the interest of fairness, I should offer another perspective.
Of course.
I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know, but these negotiations rely on the Federation's neutrality, as does any hope you might have for a supply of dilithium in the future. So, why you would choose to side with the Hotari escapes me. Without Illidian involvement, there is no dilithium trade. But clearly, you weren't aware.
Of all my concerns, dilithium is not one of them. I could care less about securing a supply, now or in the future.
I'd be curious to know if the rest of the Federation shares your indifference. Major Salit Arminta, Special Attaché, Illidian Armed Forces. Pleasure to meet you, Commander. I have my issues with the Hotari, but I have to give them some credit. They know how to seize an opportunity. Inciting an uprising the same day as a massive, once-in-a-lifetime ion storm.
Our assumption was that this storm was just an anomaly.
Yes, a very convenient anomaly. At least, that was what we were told. Of course, I wasn't there. But who am I to say otherwise?
You should know better than to believe everything you're told.
Well, the official story is that it was the storm that enabled the revolt. How else do a bunch of unarmed, unorganized miners seize control of an entire moon, much less thousands of mines?
But I've talked to people who were there. They tell a different story. They say they're lucky to have escaped with their lives. That it was more than just the storm. That somehow the miners were able to harness the energy from the storm. I know it sounds crazy. I'm not even sure I believe it myself. But that's what they said.
You just answered your own question. How do a group of miners do something that in theory can't be done? That's how. Harnessing the storm.
But even if it's true, how does that even happen?
You tell me.
If you'll excuse me, Commander Ryder.
Il est où, Solano?
Well, that was a disaster.
What happened?
The Hotari refused to concede anything, so the Illidians stormed out.
The Hotari did not invite us here as peacekeepers. I hope your efforts were more fruitful than ours.
Putain, mais...
Gravitational harmonics failing to resolve. Warp bubble stability degrading. Increase output to maximum.
Increasing warp output to maximum.
It's happening again.
It is evident that presently, the Resolute cannot achieve warp propulsion.
Since our diagnostics rule out any problems with our warp systems or anything about the ship, the problem appears to be the fabric of space itself.
Space itself? You're saying something about this region of space prevents warp travel?
Prevents it, or can't sustain it.
However improbable, that appears to be the case.
The storm didn't stop us from leaving space dock and traveling here. But could it still be causing this interference with warp travel?
We must follow sound investigatory principles. Do not let an assumed conclusion drive your analysis.
Sometimes we need a little inspired thinking, Mr. Chovak. Captain Solano is on his way back from the negotiations, and I want to have some answers for him when he gets here.
Indeed. Given the facts at hand, we may be able to deploy subspace probes around the ship to construct a clearer picture of the phenomenon.
Around the ship. I'll prep a shuttle.
On a quand même la propulsion, mais sans distorsion, il y a des voyages qui prennent 10 jours en... Enfin, un jour en distorsion qui peut prendre 60 ans... Enfin, 50... Ouais, 150 ans, parce qu'un jour... Je veux dire, des fois, ils sont 3 heures en distorsion et ça fait 60 ans de voyage. R2 pour avancer, L2 pour reculer...
Commander Westbrook, the Resolute systems are calibrated to receive the probe's readings. We are standing by to reproduce the warp field collapse after the first probe is deployed.
Thank you, Mr. Chovak. We'll be in position shortly.
And, Mr. Diaz, do take care in piloting the shuttlecraft. Now is not the time to indulge in the human penchant for joyriding.
Chovak probably isn't such a fun guy to work for, huh?
I just don't take it personally. At least I try not to.
That's a very mature answer. Shows a positive attitude on your part. Remind me of it when I start complaining to you about the ship's new first officer. This is far enough.
Il y a les sangs dans les téléportes.
Transporting the...
Ouais, c'est moi ce qui me semblait.
Westbrook here. The first probe is deployed.
Understood. We are reading it. We are about to replay the simulation.
Problem? I just can't get a handle on her. Commander Rydek. She rejected my plan to use a deflector pulse against the storm surge.
C'est toi folle.
But on the other, she did listen to my advice and use the whole polarity trick to get you through that excursion alive. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the new XO. I'm sure she's a fine officer, even if we don't see eye to eye. But she didn't go through what the rest of us did. You know that. And it's hard to figure out why she'd be the one Solano chose instead of, well, one of us.
Ah merde.
I've heard some good things. You should at least give her a chance.
I'll take that under advisement.
Test is running. Warp field collapse in 3, 2, 1, mark.
Whoa. All right, that is definitely a problem with the fabric of space. We need to get another probe out there. With 2 points of data, the Resolute and the probe, we've managed to get an interference pattern. I'm setting a waypoint to a particularly strong area of interference. We'll deploy the second probe there. Listen, I'm gonna give you a piece of advice I wish someone had given me. Make sure you're never just one thing. And don't get so focused on what's in front of your face that you lose sight of the big picture.
Ah, avec le joystick gauche, on peut aller à gauche, à droite, monter, baisser. Je pense que j'allais dire, si on peut juste bouger comme ça, c'est...
What a load of crap. I mean, if he'd said that about Chevalier, sure.
I appreciate the advice, Commander. I'll make sure I keep my options open.
I don't need to tell you how to operate. You're already well on your way. You're a capable engineer. You're good in the field. Keep up the good work, and who knows? A solid jack of all departments like you could be Commander-in-Chief of Starfleet one day. Hell, Admiral Jellicoe started as a shuttle pilot. And there are places to go in the enlisted ranks, too. Of course, if you get an officer's commission, they'll put you on another ship.
I love it. So put me up for promotion. I'm ready for my next challenge.
Well, I think you're going to have to prove that to your boss, Chevalier, first. He's the one who has to put you up for consideration. If I were first officer, it would be different.
Well, what do you think? Is there room for me in the science division?
Unless I can come up with a real good reason.
This isn't enough?
It might be. Here. This is close enough. Stop the engines. Deploying the probe. Westbrook to Commander Chevalier, we're ready for another sampling of data.
Very good. Running the simulation again. Warp field collapse in 3, 2, 1, on.
There it is again.
I saw it. It seems to be directional.
Well, what about the scans? Anything?
Here's the readings in relation to our local space. We've got the Resolute, Otari Prime, and the probes.
All this interference is overloading the sensor buffers. We're gonna have to triangulate the sensors manually. We got something.
These markers indicate peaks in the gravimetric interference patterns.
Let's see if I can find some more. Hold up.
This is the pattern.
This is coming from the moon.
A beam that blocks warp travel.
Aimed right at us.
Someone is doing this intentionally. I don't know how they're doing it. This is like nothing I've ever seen.
We're under attack and we didn't even know it. We need to stop them. Unplug whatever it is they're hitting us with.
Now, look here. It's current readings of the ion storm.
These concentrations. They line up with the interference pattern. The storm and this beam, they're coming from the same place.
Carter, whatever petty local conflict brought us here, it's just a small part of something much bigger.
C'est bien ce qui nous semblait. Ces connards dans les mines, ils ont trouvé un truc qui a déclenché tout ça. C'est bien ce que je disais, c'est eux qui ont déclenché cette putain de tempête.
One thing is clear. This is no fluke.
Thank you, Mr. Westbrook. I want a full briefing when I'm back on board. Solano out.
A targeted weapon that inhibits warp travel. Coming from the moon Tau.
That would explain the difficulties my shuttle encountered. More importantly, the tenor of the Hotari during the negotiations.
And here I thought the Illidians would be the problem. Coming to peace talks in a warship. This wasn't supposed to be so complicated.
For all their posturing, every indication is that the Illidians are afraid of the Hotari. They didn't bring their warship as a threat. They brought it because they're scared.
From everything we witnessed, I would say that is highly likely.
But what are they afraid of?
Tylus, the Hotari representative, said she thought they found something in the mines. Galvin and Sidron brought it back to the palace, but they're keeping it under tight security. She's going to investigate it. I gave her my tricorder. I expect she'll contact us soon.
You found an ally.
Why would Tylus help us? Go behind her people's back? It's a fair question, considering.
She doesn't like the way Galvin and Sidron have been manipulating the situation. And the Queen. Working with us to go around them isn't the same as betraying her people.
Quand elle a dit and the Queen, c'est comment ils ont manipulé à leur avantage et comment ils ont manipulé la reine.
Specifically, what do the other Hotari have to gain in bringing us here, only to make this hostile maneuver against us? There must be some motivation.
Unless they changed their minds between when they asked and when we got here.
Given their indifference to the negotiations, and what we now know about this warp-disrupting weapon, it's almost as if they want to start a war. And Sidron was convinced the only thing the Illidians respect is force.
I would say he's right about that. But at least they know when to hold back.
But that does not explain why they would turn their aggressions against us.
I don't think the Illidians know what's really down on that moon either.
Major Armintas said the revolt defied explanation. That the Hotari miners somehow harnessed the energy of the storm.
Harness the energy of the storm?
Doing that is beyond even our capabilities.
So is a weapon that disrupts warp travel.
There have been civilizations and entities, both past and present, far more technologically advanced than the Federation.
The Illidians and Hotari don't fall into that category.
But that is all the more reason to investigate further.
Qui sait ce qui vivait sur cette planète avant Ou que les Otari n'étaient pas beaucoup plus avancés à l'époque.
Received an urgent call from Atari.
Prime.
His advisor Tylus has asked to speak with you.
Put her through.
Galvin and Citron are still with the Queen. I've enlisted help to gain access to the room they have under guard. I don't have much time.
I'm not supposed to leave my post.
It's only for a moment. I so appreciate your help.
I found something. I'm sending you a scan.
Got it. Tylus, if we needed to gain access to the mines on Tau, is that something you could help us with?
I suppose it wouldn't be easy, but I have to go.
Tylus.
Can we reconnect?
Sorry, Captain. We've lost all contact.
We can only hope she escaped without harm.
It was hard to tell.
Tylus wouldn't have offered to help if she didn't know what she was doing.
That's a lot of faith in someone we barely know. Let's see the scan of whatever the hell that was.
Tylus suspects.
Trop bien ce jeu. C'est vraiment une suite du jeu, hein, de la série en fait. Hein. C'est vraiment après Next Generation et en même temps, on peut compter aussi que c'est après Deep Space Nine. Parce que c'est la première, tout à l'heure il disait qu'il sortait de la guerre du Dominion, enfin qu'elle avait participé dans la guerre du Dominion et elle était jeune.
However, we could demonstrate that the Hotari have acted in bad faith, which would enable us to investigate the mines on Tau with full justification. But of course, we would need conclusive proof before taking action. Otherwise, it could put us in a difficult position.
Whatever this artifact is may be proof enough, at least to satisfy the Federation.
Especially if we can show the Hotari are controlling the warp disruption and targeting the Resolute.
We may have a better understanding once we analyze the device. But a mission to the mines, covert or otherwise, is not out of the question. And I will handle the Federation.
As I was telling Carter, I want all the data I can get on this warp problem. And the negotiating team's shuttle has been recording data all the way back from Hotari. Even better than our probes. So pull the sensor and engine ISOs from the Melville when it sets down.
Will do.
I'll join you and Shovak down in engineering to run another analysis after the briefing.
I didn't like this warp problem when we thought it was some astronomical anomaly. And I like it a hell of a lot less now that we know someone is doing it to us. How does it work? What do we even do about it?
Tu sais, l'autre, elle t'a posé ça comme si c'était...
Took some damage on the way. That ionic interference scored the hull plating. Might be some micro welds. Let's try pulling together.
All right.
3, 2, 1. It won't budge. Gotta be the storm damage. We need to... Welcome back. Any excitement down on the surface?
Excitement? No. Nothing like that.
Hey, can you hand me the EJ7 interlock? From the toolbox.
I don't know what that is.
Not much use for one on a security detail, huh? Carter?
Yeah, I'll get it.
Faire le guignol un peu.
Okay, I'll apply pressure while you decouple the panel.
Here, I'll help.
We've got this.
Open up and say
Putain, mais il pourrait
Thanks for the hand.
il pourrait le téléporter ou prendre un truc anti-gravité. Enfin, un chariot anti-gravité, c'est le transpalette de Star Trek.
The tools, systems, like a walking Starfleet technical manual.
Well, I wouldn't say everything, but I know my stuff.
I can see that.
Come on, start pulling.
Qu'est-ce que c'est là encore l'autre? Ah maintenant il faut que je fasse le mec ultra confiant tout le temps. Je dis juste la vérité. Maintenant si elle préfère, je lui dis que je suis le meilleur. Hein. What the fuck?
Some kind of crystal formation?
Whoa. This substance is a quantized spin crystallization of hydrogen, carbon, and lithium. It's emitting tetrametric pulses at an interval of 3.8422 seconds.
Quantized crystallization isn't natural. I mean, it's only theoretical as a means to engineer matter on a subatomic level. What's it doing in there?
The beam, le rayon des otaries qui a fait la tempête a peut-être...
Regulation 364, subsection 9.
What?
Regulation 364, subsection 9 orders that in the case of an unknown foreign substance infiltrating a sealed system, it will be placed in secure confinement before further examination. Retrieve a containment module.
Don't you think we're more equipped to deal with whatever this is?
No. Before anything else, this is a security issue. You don't even know what this is.
Which is why we need to study it.
Once it's contained.
This is another piece of the puzzle we're trying to put together. We should be investigating it.
And you can. In the containment lab. But protocol is protocol. I can't make an exception just for you.
I'm still going to report these crystals to Commander Westbrook when we send the shuttle data.
And I will inform my superiors. I'm taking this just as seriously as you are. But I overheard talk about the warp disruption on the shuttle. Now these crystals...
Finalement, je vais peut-être la jeter, cette
Maybe the
connasse.
situation is more than we can handle with just a science vessel. We could trigger a distress call, get Starfleet to send more ships. Or I could send a message to my old CO on the Adirondack. Get some combat-tested vessels. We shouldn't do this alone.
That wouldn't be a bad idea. If you think you could do it without getting in trouble.
I'll find a way.
Be very careful.
Okay, stand back. Get this to the containment lab. We'll get it set up for you. I'll let you know when it's safely confined.
Oh, we'll be there.
Last thing you want is to study this down in main engineering and have it explode next to the warp core.
Allez, je mets fin au live, je reviens tout à l'heure, je regarde juste les infos en mangeant et à toutes.
Almost forgot.
J'attends la fin du...
Can't have that.
J'attends la fin du... Bah d'une cinématique ou quoi. Allez, à
For a
toute.
second, I thought she'd gone cold on you. Like she might have changed her mind. But I guess this whole situation has her spooked. Maybe she knows more than us? Or it's because this is all happening so fast?
Yeah, there was something a little off about it.
Like that talk about sending a distress call? That was pretty out there. Although, you didn't seem to think so. She was probably just thinking out loud. I'm sure she'll come to her senses. This mission has enough complications stacking up.
Now, we'll get through. You, me, and Miranda too.
Commander Rydek was able to work behind the scenes during the negotiations and made contact with a representative from the Hotari delegation named Tylus. She mentioned an unusual artifact of unknown origin being held under tight security within the Hotari Palace, which she believes came from the mines on Tau. Now, this artifact might have a connection to the revolt, to the storm, and to the warp disruption we now know has been targeted at the Resolute. Commander Rydek, if you want to take it from here.
Of course. Tylus managed to infiltrate the heavily guarded location within the palace and sent us these scans using my tricorder. It appears to be some sort of control panel, possibly connected to the warp disruption weapon originating on Tau. Of particular interest is this symbol, which we couldn't identify the origin of.
The Federation database has records from a vast number of civilizations. If anyone from Starfleet has come across this before, the system should recognize it.
Cross-referencing with Federation records.
Displaying symbols from Federation database with a 90% probability of match or higher. Select a symbol to further analyze. .2% match.
Got it.
So, what are we looking at?
The design and composition indicate this is a glyph associated with the ancient Tkon Empire. Their civilization collapsed over 600,000 years ago, but once spanned millions of systems with a population numbering in the trillions.
Fascinating. The Tkon were once the most advanced, most powerful civilization in the galaxy.
Is it possible the Hotari found Tkon technology?
I wonder if they even know what they have.
Our knowledge of the Tkon is limited. I have only encountered passing references to them.
Actually, I've heard of the Tkon.
You have?
Quite impressive, Commander.
Computer, summarize the Enterprise D's discovery of a Tkon outpost.
On stardate 41386.4, the USS Enterprise D, under the command of Captain Jean-Luc Picard, discovered a Tkon outpost.
Jean-Luc Picard.
According to the mission summary, an unbreakable energy-draining field was deployed against the Enterprise and a Ferengi ship. The Enterprise was only able to escape after negotiating their release with an entity known as Portal 6-3, Guardian of the Tkon Empire.
Unbreakable energy draining field. It starts to make sense.
What else is there?
There's a lot here. Let's take it piece by piece.
Select the aspect you wish to learn more about.
Allez, à tout à l'heure les gars.